All right, this is part 2 of cooperative learning. Some tips for implementing cooperative learning in your classroom. First of all, you gotta be patient with the process. When you're learning cooperative learning in your class, it takes time to learn and become comfortable with these types of activities, how to design them and how to implement. It also takes time for students to learn and understand. Give yourself a couple weeks. Number 2, baby steps. Introduce short, simple tasks for your students for cooperative learning activities. Don't think you have to do all cooperative learning all the time. Maybe try 1 or 2 a week until you become comfortable with the process. Once you understand the cooperative learning process, you'll be doing it without thinking at least once a day. But don't think you're going to be there at the beginning. As far as group sizes, to start with, think about 2 or 3, groups of 2 or 3 in the primary, intermediate 3 to 4, middle school 3 to 5. Vary the group size according to the task, of course. Some groups call for more intimate kinds of conversations and some less. If groups are having trouble, do 2 things. Make the group smaller or make the task less complex, involving fewer steps. All right. Number 4, when planning, cooperative learning always takes more time than you would think. It takes more time than other types of activities. However, this is offset because students learn more and learn more deeply. They often hit or cover items that may not directly support your objective, but this is why I like these open-ended activities. Learning goes beyond the limited confines of your objective. Number 5, you want to keep your groups on task, all right, to keep them focused. I do this 3 ways. Number 1, I specify the amount of time. Boys and girls, you will have 20 minutes for your group to get this job done. So that's the first thing. The second thing, one of the roles is a timer. One person's job is a timer. It's to tell the group when you have 5 minutes left, and it's to keep everyone on task. And then the third thing that I do is what's called verbal mile markers. All right, groups, you're about halfway through. Groups, you have about 5 minutes left. Groups, you have about 2 minutes left. Start thinking about, those are called verbal mile markers, just to let the groups know. You can't expect them all to have clocks in their heads. Number 6, in most instances, you, the teacher, should create the groups or use random selection of some sort. You want to avoid, almost never ever have students select their own groups. This puts undue social pressure on some people who are perceived as less popular, but it also enables you to create diversity in terms of gender, ability, outlook, etc. So very rarely would you say, find 2 or 3 people to work in your group. Now, random selection. I'm going to give you some ideas for random selection. And I use this the most often, and I think it's the best. The simple one is to have a deck of cards. And if I'm using groups of 4, well, then all the 9s become a group, all the 7s, so they just draw a card. If I want groups, of course, with 5 in, I'd use 2 decks, so I could have 5 jacks and 5 7s and 5 9s, or 3 or 6, whatever. Use your teacher intelligence and creativity. The other one I do is I draw for names. All right. Now I have cards with students' names on them, and I'll often shuffle them up all the time, and I'll select groups at random. What I love about the random group is you get this wide range. Sometimes you get all girls working together, all boys working together, 1 boy and a lot of girls, 1 girl, a lot of boys. Interesting dynamics. And that kind of reflects reality because they're going to be in all sorts of different groups. All right, those are some ideas on the process, tips for the process. The last video will describe some specific, easy to use cooperative learning activities. These are all taken from my book, Making Connections in Social Studies.